Welcome to the Adventure in Puntland on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pet Health Guru segment, so pets are allowed. It is where pets have a voice. Forget the humans. Pets have a better voice anyway.
That's right. And we make sure that they're heard.
That's right. So, anyway, to just finish off what I was saying to everybody, again, reach out to me, Pipe Man Radio on all socials. Check out the interviews from Vans Warped Tour from this weekend. Tell me which interview I swapped shirts with another band. Okay? And the shirt is a record label shirt, Stomp Records. So, gotta make sure to check it out. And I'm not going to tell you the band. You got to tell me the band so you can win your choice. Rocklahoma or Aftershock on the Pipe Man Radio Tour. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about pets, because pets are cooler than humans for the most part. And but you pet owners, you need to beware. Pet Health Group, they need to beware.
There's so many dangers out there for our pets that we think we're doing the right thing with. And that's where the danger lies. We've got medical professionals that have no clue about foods, diets.
I think your dog is translating for
all
you.
of that.
I think your dog's translating for you in the background, because as you're talking, it's like the sign language people at concerts.
Yes, exactly. That's what she does. She's telling me what to say, what kind of challenges that she doesn't have to succumb to, when most of her contemporaries are being bombarded every day.
So tell us about some of those things that maybe people don't even realize are a danger.
Well, I mean, first off, let's look at chemicals. Yard chemicals, household chemicals, sprays, deodorants, perfumes, makeup. Women all the time with their makeup and the dog's licking their face. What did they just ingest? This is the kind of things that nobody thinks about, because all this stuff is invisible. EMFs, the same thing. Chemtrails. Nobody looks up at the sky. Nobody cares about that stuff. But yet, our animals, their hearing is 100 times, 1,000 times more sensitive than ours, as is their nose. And we're bombarding those senses on those dogs. And then we wonder why they're acting screwy and, bad behaviors and all of that. It's just they're fighting it 24/7.
Yeah.
Then if we throw in the nutrition part of it, the bad food, which I was telling somebody over the weekend, doctors, veterinarians, very few study any kind of nutrition. And nutrition isn't food. Nutrition is the scientific formulas behind it. Production, how it's handled, how it's processed is much more important than the actual vitamin content of something, because if it's not in a usable form, it's no good for us anyway, or our dogs and cats.
So I have a question real quick before we go on to the rest of it. I'm speaking for Juan. I'm his translator right now. And basically, does that also hold true for his guppy, that like the toxic things that fish get exposed to if you have fish in the house?
Absolutely, because that water is absorbing the gas around it as well. So if you've got, if you're using essential oils, different cleaners in your house, that sort of thing, that's being absorbed into the water. And it can have a nasty effect on the inhabitants of that fish tank as well. One of the things about nature, though, and living things, is we do have a certain amount of adaptivity that we can adapt and fight off some of this stuff. But in the long run, it still gets us all.
So, question is then, okay, so a lot of humans that use essential oils, they say it's for good health. Is it really for good health? And is it good health for our pets?
To be honest, most of them are not because they're highly processed. I mean, I know some they claim, the companies that make this stuff claim that they're safe for animals, they're safe for use on people, but the actual studies show the opposite. It's, um, you know, it's basically it's like everything else around us. It's all superficial. It's cosmetic, if you will. It's cosmetic in the fact that it's a good, clean smell. Does it have some therapeutic effects? Some might not. They're going to be minimal at best. Um, it's when we look at pharmaceuticals as a whole, on the medical side, all of them came from essentially plant-based at some point in time.
Yeah.
And the first step from that was the essential oils. So we're taking and trying to duplicate and magnify something in an essential oil that's normally found in nature. And for what reason? Make money. Something different.
Yeah. So, what are your suggestions for pet owners so they don't have to be so beware or worried?
Well, we did a whole program on the Pet Health Cafe again on the holistic way. And number one is making sure that the environment is clean as possible. You doing your part of doing the investigation, reading labels, that sort of thing on not only food but cleaning products. Just because a company says they're a clean, green, eco-friendly company doesn't really mean that. It just means that might be less dangerous than the next guy. That's all it really is. So
Yeah.
you start out that way, and then you don't panic. You know, most of the what we call diseases and health issues and challenges that we have are not diseases. They're basically symptoms of an event that's going on. And when I say an event, it's usually a short term, you know, like a 24-hour flu. You can take medications for it, but guess what? It's still going to be 24 hours, no matter
Yeah.
what you do. And actually, you've lowered the ability, the immune properties of your body by taking those medications, and actually can prolong that 24-hour flu to 48, 72, 96 hours, and have other side effects along with it, like the diarrhea and vomiting and everything else that drugs cause.
So, Juan, what questions do you have for the pet health guru about this subject that we're talking about?
Well, is there anything I have to be aware of with the guppies? I mean, that's the only thing that really matters to me. Hashtag guppies, not puppies.
That's right.
So there is
But
one thing
yeah,
I
I
have
mean,
noticed,
any
though. There's one thing I have noticed when I first started the hobby, because this is technically like a hobby, the aquarium business. Uh, I used to get
right.
all the chemicals for the water, to treat the water, to make sure that like all the pH levels were safe and everything. I switched from that because it was killing them like slowly. Like every time I would add chemicals, I would see like a couple of them like turn out dead like a day or two later. I switched from that to just using beneficial bacteria and letting the tank cycle, and adding more natural elements like grass, moss, driftwood, and all these other things that can contribute to the pH and everything else. And they've been thriving ever since.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned that because when I started my career, that was one of the areas that I was very proficient in and helped develop a lot of the systems. Prior to that, you had a little box with a little bit of polyester foam in it and some charcoal. That was the whole filtration system. And then, of course, we got into the biological filters with the undergravels and things of that nature, working in conjunction with multi-stage external filters. And that was a whole game changer right there. Everything changed. The water chemistry remained fairly neutral. We didn't have to use a lot of chemicals. And then, of course, modern times, we decided to go back to all chemicals, and
Yeah.
that's what creates a lot of the problems.
But if you look at like man-made lakes, even, right? Like we don't maintain those, and there's still fish thriving in there, even though we don't put chemicals to clean the water. So like, why would we be doing that to our pets, in the aquarium hobby?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you look, you have here in South Florida, we have problems quite often with massive algae blooms and that sort of thing that kill off literally thousands and thousands of fish. And what's the cause of it? Fertilizer from the sugar plantations and that sort of thing, where they're over fertilized, over sprayed, over treated, and that works its way down through the ecosystem into the water, and in nature, then we're battling it. I mean, just even building Tamiami Trail across Florida changed the whole ecology of the Everglades, because now we had a dam keeping the water going from where it's supposed to go. And of course, they built a whole series of canals and that sort of thing that dump all that wastewater into the estuaries.
So, Pet Health Guru, how can people reach out to you for more info on My Paleo Pet, Pet Health Cafe, and basically everything that you do?
Well, of course, start out with, and this is actually your best starting point, is to go on to the Pet Health Cafe on YouTube, Spotify, any of the major things on these stations here, and start learning about what we teach. And then, of course, taking that as a guide, go over to My Paleo Pet, see the products that we have, mypaleopet.com. Come into the store for a consultation or a phone consultation. Those are both available through the website. I'm in store, at least 4 days a week. So, you can always come in and have a personal conversation with me. Always willing to help. And, we actually will evaluate where your animal is health-wise in a way that the medical community doesn't even think about. It's not about adding more chemicals. It's about adding pure products, pure natural products that will help the body heal itself. Because the medicines don't heal anything. The body has to heal itself, has to fix itself. It's a regenerative machine. And we just can, we have to give it the right tools and get out of the way. Let it do its job.
Is there any other final words you want to give our people out there that they need to be aware of, and any other, healthy advice for them, for their pets?
Well, like you said, the first thing is these are a lot of these health issues and challenges or events. Don't panic, because that's the worst thing you can do is, when you get hysterical, you go to the ER and they load up with drugs and everything else. And in many cases, that ailment would have been gone in 24 hours. I mean, emergency care is one thing, if there's a serious accident or injury. But as far as these little things, use common sense. I know that's a very, very foreign term today, but we innately know what we're supposed to do. We just ignore it and think of what the so-called experts tell you.
All righty. Well, as usual, you're a wealth of information. You are a pet health guru. And everybody make sure to check out My Paleo Pet. Check out Pet Health Cafe. World of information, world of help. And you can even order products no matter where you are. And Bill will take care of it for you. And everybody make sure, check out my interviews from Vans Warped Tour Montreal. And the one that and talks about me trading shirts during the interview, and let me know what band it is, and you'll have a chance to win tickets to Rocklahoma or Aftershock. Your choice. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here on Positively Pipe Man, and stay tuned. We'll have more going on this week, so keep watch for the Pipe Man. Thanks for listening to the Adventures Pipe Man, W4CY Radio. Roll it, Juan.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipe Man on W4CY Radio.